Also, it reminds me that like our like college years was like a Gold's Gym of insulting each other. Right?
Hello, and welcome to a very special Year's End episode of 1001 Album Complaints, where we're going to recap the amazing year that was 2024 by playing some highlights from our extra mean, extra snark-filled tweet-length reviews. By the way, doing this best of show allows us to take a much-needed week off of researching and prepping for the regular show, and instead we can rest on our laurels and listen to material we've already painstakingly crafted over the past year. That's right, audience. It's a clip show.
Does this mean I can listen to Hoobastank on my own this week?
You are allowed to choose your own music this
All
week.
Right.
But actually, that would have been last week, to be clear. It's already gone, Adam. Yeah.
Damn it.
But never fear. We're here in studio to comment upon ourselves tonight and probably laugh at ourselves and have a jolly good time here to celebrate another terrific year. But before we get to the clips, I thought I would briefly throw it around the room, introduce who's here with us today, and allow them to say something, anything, about 1001 Album Complaints in 2024. I am going to pass the mic first to Tom.
Thank you, Rob. In terms of 1001 Album Complaints in 2024, and I think since its inception, I really appreciate being able to open the curtain and let all of you good people in on our like bitchy piss fights that we have with each other over just the most mundane fucking topics, which is actually how this entire podcast came to be conceived, is like a text argument literally about the song What a Fool Believes by the Doobie Brothers. And we're like, you know what? We should probably put this on tape. I think the world needs to hear this. And I think that time has proven us correct.
We've taken the text thread to the world. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you. And we're going to kick it next to Adam.
Yeah, so 2024 continues the trend of me surprising, but not surprising the rest of you, of how little music I've heard in my life.
From somebody who probably had the most music in your house growing up of any of us.
The most music, but the least amount of breadth, I'll say.
Well, you listen to a lot of weird stuff that's definitely not going to make the list, too.
Sure. But I'm looking forward to another year of listening to stuff I've never heard of and shocking all of you that I've never heard it. And I've never seen Rocky. So I'll just throw that in there as well.
Didn't you live in Philly for a period?
I do. I swear to God, never seen it.
Wow, okay. Let's keep it rolling. Let's go to Marty next.
Hey, I thought there was no homework, Rob. I guess I have to prepare a speech now.
Pop quiz.
This year has been, I'm going to follow up on what Adam said. It's great to listen to music that you've never even thought about listening to. It's great on getting into Robert Dimery's mind and listening to his recommendations and shitting on them or liking them. But either way, it's great to hear new music, and it's great to like talk about music with my longtime homies.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, dudes. I know I'm throwing you guys a curveball. I didn't tell anyone to prepare for me to pass the mic to you one time on our weekly show of the last 3.5 years. I thought you guys could handle it. Next up, let's go to Alan.
Yeah, so I'll echo a little bit of what Tom said. Obviously, we put time and prep into the research and putting this all together. And by we, I will say Rob definitely puts the lion's share of the time into this.
Hear, hear.
But I can't stress enough for people who listen how close this is to what it's actually like to hang out with us at a bar. Like, despite the production and the professionalism that goes into actually like making this happen, this is very similar to what a conversation sounds like. And so I think that's cool. And I will say, as much as it pains me to admit this, I do learn a lot from you guys and your different angles on things. So that has been a nice positive.
Okay, and last but certainly not least, we're going to kick it to fan favorite, Phil.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I think you guys really all hit the key points, but yeah, it's been a solid year. It's always great to just like listen to new stuff. Definitely, I think Marty, the way you said it, like stuff you'd never think of listening to, right? But it is nice to dive in and just shoot the shit with you guys every week or two, and yeah, it's just all around good times.
Especially now that we're kind of all scattered to the wind. And I think that
Oh, totally.
Phil and Alan are probably the only two that live within reasonable driving distance of each other.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know where Rob is half the time.
I'm coming to y'all right now from Bangkok, Thailand. It's a lovely morning time here for me. Completely flipped from y'all.
So are you also 6 beers deep like the rest of us?
But yeah, let me just round it out. This is Rob here, and I just wanted to say, same as all of you. Well, as you know, I met all of you, my best friends, over 20 years ago. It's safe to say we hit it off. Talking about music, talking about records, seeing bands together, making music together, and it has truly been one of the highlights of my life. So it's an honor to do the show with all of you. It's really, really fun, as we all said. And to the listeners, thank you, right? Thank you for listening this year. Thank you for helping us spread the word to your friends, for writing us emails, for joining our Patreon community, for leaving comments, for giving us 5-star reviews, for giving us 1-star reviews, whatever. Every single bit of it helps, and it's helped grow the reach of the show, and it keeps us genuinely excited every week to dive into these records that we've never heard of. So without you listening, there'd be no show. So again, thank you from everybody.
Thank you, and also we're sorry.
That too. And now we're going to revel in all the things we've said incorrectly throughout the year. So I reckon it is about time to play some clips. Now, what's happened here is that I've compiled a series of the best tweets from all of our 2024 shows in secret, audience. So for everyone except me, this will be a fun and surprising walk down memory lane. We're going to play them. We're going to react to them in real time for your listening pleasure. And if you're listening to the sound of my voice, you probably do know, but a little explanation is warranted just in case. You see, each week on our show, we select an album from Robert Dimery's list of 1001 albums you must hear before you die. We research it, we tell the backstory, we break down a few specific songs before eventually voting on whether or not you really needed to hear the record before you died. But at the top of every week's show, we like to pre-prepare short, pithy reviews before diving in to our more nuanced thoughts and impressions of the music. Now, our primary goal with those tweets has always been to make each other laugh. And believe me, you're going to hear a lot of laughter from us on the clips as well as in studio today. But I will say, we noticed that over time, the tweets were getting snarkier and snarkier at the top, even as our true opinions were often getting more balanced, and dare I say, intelligent even. So at some point this year, we started calling them out as mean tweets. They are intended to be the cattiest, hot take versions of our opinion, and it's really us just trying to have a laugh before we dive in. But okay, let's move on to the clips. Now that we've introduced ourselves, what we're doing here, I recommend we do a little level setting. I've compiled this first batch of tweets to set the tone. And I should also mention before we play the first clip that although the tweet itself doesn't always ID the album it's referring to, I reviewed everything thoroughly, so I'll always know what the tweet is referring to, and we can turn that into a mini guessing game as we go along. I've called this first set the amuse-bouche, if you will.
Oh.
Okay. Ooh, look what you
Nice.
did there.
Nice.
Let's go around the horn and introduce our esteemed panel by way of a brief, mean tweet length review of this album. And I'm going to start with Rob.
You too can record a hit indie record. Just start banging on your toaster with a broken AM radio, or try plonking away on your toddler's xylophone with the loose change in your pocket. And make sure to punch yourself in the throat a few times before any vocal takes. If done right, you'll be hailed as rock and roll saviors and elevated to dad rock minor league baseball stadium icons.
Hidden behind lush four-part harmonies, pre-white album production aesthetics, equally juvenile lyricism, and notions of love, Wilson and the Beach Boys prove that songs about casual sex and booty calls have always and will always rule the airwaves.
All right. Hi, everybody. This is Tom. Here's my tweet. It's an album full of synthed-out covers performed by a seemingly manic version of Tinkerbell, except instead of pixie dust, she flings, I'm assuming, cocaine everywhere. It must be said, she can really belt. And by belt, I don't mean the 6 belts she is wearing on her oh-so-quirky outfit. I mean, she does have an undeniable voice.
If you moved to Portland, Oregon in the early 2000s like I did, there are 2 things getting jammed down your throat. $6 donuts and the music of Slater Kinney. I'll take the donuts.
A group of black virtuoso hard rock / metal musicians storms the gates of the all-white boys club of the late 80s rock scene, rips the door off his hinges, seizes control of the room, and it just kind of hangs around and does nothing for a little while. That Living Color album was pretty bad.
So it's pretty exciting. Actually, have everyone in the studio tonight to review ourselves. But that was a fun run the gamut there for us.
Rob, I'm still curious as to what your tweet length review was about. What album was that about?
Can I guess? Was that Motorhead?
No, that was Wilco.
Oh, the punch in the throat. I was thinking Lemmy. So
Lemmy punches you in the throat. He does not
He
get
punches
punched
you.
in
That's
the
right.
throat.
That's
Come
right.
on.
Well, also, I'm wondering what you're talking about, Tom.
That was Cyndi Lauper.
Oh, okay. That makes
The
sense.
6 belts didn't clue you in on that.
I would have said 13 necklaces, but
Marty got too hung up on the cocaine floating in the air.
Okay. Now, look, our tweets took a lot of twists and turns this year. And what I've tried to do here is identify some patterns within, like Phil staring long and hard at the back of a $1 bill. But one theme jumped out right away. A classic comedic trick that I like to call misdirection. Here's a clip package of tweets that lull any super fans who might be listening into a bit of complacency before yanking the rug out from under them.
Oh, I can't wait.
If you want to hear amazing interpretations of Burt Bacharach songs sung by a 60s songstress with a bit of tragedy in her voice, then check out Dionne Warwick. An American, damn it.
this is a concept album, and the concept is making a record with little to no effort or creativity.
Following the release of their massively successful Greatest Hits album, the Eagles were looking to take their sound in a new, forward-looking direction. They then give us 1 track of new-sounding stuff and 8 that could have been on any of their previous albums.
Early Boosh.
On Share the Land, the Guess Who's show that they can write excellent 3-minute pop songs and then needlessly extend them to 4 minutes plus from there.
This album made me appreciate just how important a good performance is in the studio, mostly because this album didn't have one. But I'll try to stay positive and say that I'm at least glad that the sax player on Brass Monkey by the Beastie Boys found another gig.
I can't believe you're able to categorize that in such a good, succinct way.
Yeah.
What was the sax album?
That was the Zootons.
The Zootons.
Oh, yes.
The Zootons. That was a good album.
I was surprised Hotel California was this year. That was this year?
Yeah, man.
It's been a long year. 52 shows I went through to look for these tweets. So we're reaching back
Jesus
into the
Christ,
vaults here.
dude. Yeah, man. Well done. Wow.
Really do get pretty pissy with those tweet length reviews. I'm glad we rebranded them to mean tweets because
Yes, agreed.
It's going to get worse. I have an extra mean package coming up soon.
oh, all right.
It makes me want to tee off on albums that I wouldn't otherwise, but just calling it mean tweets, it helps set the stage for it.
Hell yeah. I think you are right, Rob. We have gotten better at not just being like, this album fucking sucks because I didn't like it. And more about like, this album fucking sucks because they make stupid production choices or something like that. But it does give you a lot of freedom to just completely go all in on those tweets when you know up front that you don't actually have to defend the horrible shit you just said about somebody in the actual episode. So I appreciate that a whole lot.
And you could also vote for the album to be in.
And still be snarky as hell. Right.
You just have to be mean. That's the exercise.
I think it's fun. I also like to annoy the shit out of any super fans right at the top. Just so that's our litmus test for new listeners, I think.
The old rage listen.
Fuck these guys. I'm tuning in for another 90 minutes.
Okay, I'd love to move on to some other hallmarks of our tweet review compositions. For instance, I noticed when I was reviewing the tape that we absolutely love, referencing that slippery fish called musical genre. Sometimes the genres we reference are the same widely accepted meta tags you'd find on a Spotify playlist, and other times we just make them up. And I should say, before I roll this one, please know that in the very first clip, Tom is giving a tweet-length review of Lynyrd Skynyrd's debut album.
A group of good old down-home boys from Florida get together and form a rock band with a distinct Southern sound, endure the deaths of two members, and still manage to have a Hall of Fame-worthy career. They are the greatest Southern rock band of all time, and their name is pronounced Allman Brothers. But this album is pretty good, too.
John Lennon referred to much of this album as, quote, more of Paul's granny music. If that's the case, sign me up for that early bird special, or at least let me sit in my rocking chair and crochet while I watch Matlock in peace.
James Taylor kicks off the butt rock revolution and proves himself both legally and morally responsible for every guy who busts out an acoustic guitar at a crowded house party.
With their debut album, the Zootons are clearly asking a question. And that question is, if we made an entire album of Scooby-Doo ghost scene chase music, would it be any good? The answer, surprisingly, is yes.
If you were wondering why British rock music felt the need to invade America, look no further than the barbershop stylings of these wholesome lads run amok with a multitrack.
Ooh, shit. Who's that?
It was the barbershop.
That was the Beach Boys.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think we were kind of mean to be honest. I mean, it was not the Beach Boys' best effort. Pet Sounds, it was not.
They can take it.
Yeah, there's no fragile mental states in that band.
You might lay in bed for 10 years,
John,
but...
John Stamos is their current drummer. How bad could it get?
Oh man, Marty, I was listening to this. I don't know why I flag you on this. I just think you like John Prine. But I was listening to John Prine today, and they brought me this John Prine song, Kokomo, and I turned it on, and I thought of you, and I was like, whoa, he's going to cover Kokomo. And he definitely did not cover Kokomo.
Wait, it was just like a different song called
It's just a
Kokomo?
different song called Kokomo.
It's about Kokomo, Indiana.
Yeah, exactly.
Play to the minors.
Make a good pina colada over there.
Okay, now another thing we love to do on the show while we're taking pot shots at some poor artist whose greatest creative achievement far, far, far outweighs anything we'll ever do, say, or spawn is to throw a few other bands under the bus as well. Misery loves company, after all. So here's us involving other artists in our tweet-length descriptions of the week's Deep Dive album.
It's like AC/DC without all the subtlety. It's music to crush beer cans against your forehead to. This is the rock and roll cavemen would make if they had electric guitars.
Do you hate the fucking Eagles? Do you hate Linda Ronstadt? Do you hate the Rolling Stones songs where Mick just rambles and rambles and rambles and then hits the chorus? Well, this is the face you really want to punch.
In a complete boosh to every other band putting out music in 1969, Lennon and McCartney prove that they can take even their unfinished cast-off song ideas and make a better back half of a record than anyone else making music at the time.
Less original than the Stooges, less polished than Nirvana, and with less business savvy than pretty much all of their contemporaries. Mudhoney are the also-rans of the 90s grunge explosion. The most stunning trick they ever pulled off was to remain poor and unknown while major record label gold rushed from seemingly every fire hydrant in their Seattle neighborhood.
Songs of Leonard Cohen. The album the Bob Dylan lobby does not want you to hear.
That is a great one, Marty.
I'll redub this the Catching Strays tweets over here. I appreciate it.
Indeed.
I like how you used AC/DC without the subtlety as both a diss to whatever you were talking about and a backhanded compliment to AC/DC.
That had to be Motorhead, right?
That was Motorhead, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The caveman line was very Very telling.
Well, you're not crushing beer cans on your head to delight.
No, I was basking in the subtlety of AC/DC songs like Cover You in Oil.
Oh my God.
I wonder what they're talking about.
I just had an entire D-Light music video where people were crushing cans and their heads just rushed through my mind. It's kind of amazing.
It'd be like in pastel.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Does
Absolutely.
the camera zoom in real quick and then zoom out again?
There's got to be some sort of delight words coming in this episode. I hope.
Actually, Marty, your tweet about it's a concept album where the concept is no talent and complete trash. That was your delight tweet.
All right.
That that could have fit for so many of the albums that we covered.
So true. So true.
They're probably rolling over in their tents when they hear that.
Rolling right along here, we had a lot of special guests on the show this year. It's always a gas for us to have a new friend or a fellow podcaster come join the show, and it's particularly exciting when they come to yell at us. So I've compiled the first of two sets of the best of our guest complainers here, and I should also mention that this year we solicited tweets from you, our amazing audience, on several occasions. So at the end of the clip, you'll hear one of us reading the words, but it's one of you, dear listeners, who wrote the material. That's the kind of thing we're doing over at our free Patreon, by the way. Come join us today, and next year you could be hearing your words read out over these here airwaves.
For an album whose component parts fall somewhere between WWE wrestler entering the arena and a dog barking at skateboarders, Scum achieves what it's going for. Whiplash guitar, drums that kick your grandma's teeth in, and lyrics that challenge the listener to push violently back against society. I think. I didn't really understand what you say.
The best part of bold, stripped-down rock and roll, played with punk rock ferocity, timeless attitude, and hooky songs that almost single-handedly raise the price on affordable vintage fuzz pedals forever.
Graham Parsons wanted to make cosmic American music, and I think he succeeded. In the exact same way that I go stargazing when I press really hard on my eyes.
Oh my God.
Close friend of the show and sometimes guest, Tony, wrote into us. Unbeknownst to most fans and even their bandmates, a young Lennon and McCartney made a secret pact to end the Beatles the moment they released an album where the best song was written by George Harrison. Adding insult to injury, George went on to write the two best songs on Abbey Road. John, Paul, Here Comes the Boosh.
The one from Scott, the drummer from Ghost Beef, rather, that was fantastic. The pushing on the eyes. I fell over laughing at that one.
I love a good cheap high.
That got a big reaction from you and Marty in the studio. I heard Marty yelling off mic. I'm not sure if that was here or the other time we were together.
Or in the clip. Yeah.
That was very funny.
I got to tell you, it's not easy coming up with the tweet length reviews. That tends to be, if I'm not hosting, that's definitely the hardest part of my preparation for the week is coming up with a pithy tweet length review. And it is good to have guests come on and show us that they can actually do it better than we can a lot of the time.
We need to step it up, man.
No, I agree, Tom.
I think if our best of episode tells us anything, it's that we're terrible at all of it. Just kidding. No, it is hard. And it's hard and it's intimidating for guests to come in and do it. And by the way, you don't just have to write the tweet length review, you then have to deliver it, which can be a little bit challenging as well when it comes to comedy. So let's move right along here. We got several more clips. They say brevity is the soul of wit. We certainly don't know anything about that here on this show. Let's keep this train blazing down the tracks and move along to a favorite category of mine that I've dubbed short and sweet. There's something about landing a burn in very few words that always tickles me.
Smash music for robots if robots could be autistic.
Perfect for karaoke because the vocals already sound like a drunk guy shouting at you from across the room.
Music for anyone who's ever cried happy tears during an NPR pledge drive.
We get it. You hate your dad.
There's a line in one of the songs, and the line goes, "Give me something to remember you by." I really wish they had taken their own advice when they made this album.
Ooh, this was a rough week, I'm not going to lie to you, but geez, Cookie Monster is a lot angrier than I remembered.
Oh my goodness.
I don't remember the Cookie Monster one.
Oh, come on. That's Napalm Death.
No, that was Slipknot, actually.
Oh, that was Slipknot.
Oh,
I know. We
okay.
covered a lot of screaming.
I thought that was Marty's for Slipknot. We get it. You hate your dad.
I do think that might have been Marty's for Slipknot as well, yes.
Tom, your Gary Newman note was perfect.
I saw an advertisement for Slipknot like last summer. I guess they were on tour, and it referred to them as the world's most exclusive band.
Had like 37 members or something like that.
I think I joined Slipknot last year.
Yeah, oh, did you? That's kind of cool.
Yeah, they're like, here's a baseball bat, here's some beer kegs. You know what to do. Go ahead.
I don't know what this says about me, but I've been getting hammered with YouTube ads about Creed's upcoming tour, along with Three Doors Down.
Yeah, nothing for Slipknot should start with the world's most.
The world's most inexplicably popular band.
I went to one day of the Sacramento area metal festival, and Slipknot had played like a few nights before, but they weren't playing that night. This is outdoors. It was super hot, and there were a bunch of people in Slipknot regalia, like with the mask, the whole deal.
Ooh.
On the day they weren't playing.
Wow. I imagine just like 80% chicks at that show. Yes.
How bummed would you be if you put on all the Slipknot gear and then you showed up and you were like, what do you mean they played yesterday?
You're watching like Bruce Hornsby in your like Slipknot gear.
Slipknot fans are somehow like not good at organizing their life somehow.
Oh, God.
Continuing in our theme of how our esteemed hosts go about crafting one of these mean tweets, every week we find ourselves groping around in the dark, hoping our hands find purchase in the nooks and crannies of comedy gold, and inevitably out come the analogies. So let's roll some analogy-laden tweets next.
Much like that mole on the small of my back, I didn't like it very much at first, but it grew on me quickly and in weird and unexpected ways.
Uninspired riffs, sleaze bag lyrics. They're like Kiss if the costume truck never showed up and Gene Simmons accidentally set his throat on fire.
In so many ways, Taylor's sophomore release, Sweet Baby James, mirrors his love life. The songs start off charming and scenic, but quickly take a wrong turn down a country road, turning into a smooth, boring-ass ride to nowhere.
Whiter than cauliflower on a snowy morning, dorkier than Doctor Who fan fiction. I think I finally understand why Bakersfield is such a tourist draw.
If you put the entire Beatles catalog into AI and turn the shit knob up to 5, this is what comes out.
The good old shit knob.
Oh, man.
That's definitely one of my all-time favorites. Great work on that one. That really gets me.
I unfortunately are often thinking about my life in terms of somebody turning the shit knob up today.
Right,
you know?
right.
Now, look, I think sometimes it seems like we don't like anything, and that's simply not true. As I looked through the nearly 80 hours of recorded show material from 2024, I was able to find just under 1 minute's worth of clips of us sincerely praising music. Let's get a taste of that.
Behold, the sound of humans playing instruments. Behold, a rock and roll band has a saxophone, not a keyboard player. Behold, the Zootons.
A 22-minute masterpiece, an emotional roller coaster and fitting end that still satisfies the age-old show business adage of leave 'em wantin' more.
Who the fuck is this bass player and why is he not a household name?
A ramshackle orchestra clamorously bangs on everything they can find and caterwauls their way into our cold American hearts. This music grabs you by the lapels with the urgency of a deranged lunatic telling you that the pod people have arrived.
Elton John and Bernie Taupin make one of the best albums of the 70s. Then for some reason, don't stop and keep adding songs. It is still great. But within this double album, there is an incredibly tight single album lurking.
Man, we covered so much stuff that I've already forgotten about. It's great to do this review because I'm thinking back, I forgot about that Elton John record, but man, that was a killer.
Phil, I've known you for a long time. I've never seen you that excited about anything.
That was Phil in full cult leader mode.
Yeah.
Was that like Steely Dan or something, or like Live Fish or what?
No, that was the Zootons record. I was dialed up, for that
like
one.
drugs.
No. I mean, I probably had a couple of drinks. I would have guessed. I don't know what yeah.
Brain tonic.
Yeah.
Now, just so you don't think we're getting soft on you, I've compiled the meanest of the mean tweets here in this next round. So this might hurt.
Weak songs sung by one of the most iconic and unique voices in all of rock history are still weak songs.
Early Boosh. Nashville country. The only genre that even Ray Charles can't bring any soul to.
Wow. It is fitting that Corey Glover played Francis in Platoon, because listening to this album 20 times was my own personal Vietnam.
Marilyn Manson showcases his lack of talent and shitty songwriting while highlighting, for the listener, the importance of a two-parent household.
This album is the musical equivalent of Taco Bell. It's recognizable as food, but the nutritional content is abysmal, and I hate myself after eating there.
For a band whose entire aesthetic is a shopping spree through a Spirit Halloween store, whose idea of guitar tone is what if a lawnmower ran over a pile of wet garbage, and whose lyrical content is aimed directly at sexually frustrated, underclass, 17-year-old Midwesterners, I found more to like in this album than I anticipated. However, I anticipated liking exactly nothing on it, so that is not a very high bar. Now that was Slipknot. Yeah.
Yes, it was indeed. It was indeed. Yeah, we can get pretty mean when we want to.
Glad I didn't have to listen to Slipknot.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I'm just curious what this podcast would sound like if instead of focusing on the best 1001 albums, if we focused on the worst. Jesus Christ, it would get merciless.
Also, it reminds me that our college years was like a Gold's Gym of insulting each other. Right?
Yeah, all those times that we didn't support each other when we were trying to wear something new or
there's no suffering of any of us. We earned our fucking stripes.
Black belt.
And it's also nice that we did that making brutal fun of people that we genuinely loved. And so when it's time for me to make fun of a musician that I either don't care about or actively don't like, it's like, oh my God, all bets are off. You can say whatever the fuck you want. It's so freeing. It's great.
And here's the best part, Tom. You didn't even pick the album. It's Dimer created the list, and then the Albinator brought you the record, right? Your hands were tied.
Yeah, I mean, clearly though, Phil, I didn't really pick being friends with you or Adam. Our names just fall alphabetically in the way that we were sat next to each other in first grade, and that's why we became friends, right?
Yes, that actually does turn out to be true. Yes, I agree.
Okay, next, I'd love to highlight a few of the amazing guests we've had on the show this year. These folks came in hot, and we loved it. Again, it's a huge treat for us when someone steps into our Thunderdome and is ready to throw down. And once again, at the end of this clip set, you're going to hear another listener-submitted tweet read off by one of us. That's right. You could be on next year's Holiday Spectacular. Get on our mailing list, join our Patreon, and we'll give you several chances in 2025. We promise.
My tweet length review in the form of a public service announcement is this. If the Wilco album Yankee Hotel Foxtrot is referenced anywhere in a dude's dating profile, he is only ever going to take you camping or make you watch him rock climb.
To me, the 2001 Kubrick monolith depicted on the classic cover art represents rock and roll after this band is pissed all over its face like their lives depended on it. All four members somehow knew that they were peaking and made the absolute most of it, even veering some of their pretensions off course in order to save their rock and roll from morphing into capital R-O-C-K. I'm in full agreement with you album complainers that there are no sacred cows, yet I know I'm going to be put in the position to be defenders of the faith over the next hour and change, because this is one toward which I could never be faithless. I'll go down loyal to the very end for this album. Who's next is beyond reproach, you motherfucking heathens.
Listener Brian says, the mollusk captures the innocence and joy of children's music, reinterpreted by a band who aren't allowed within 500 yards of a school.
Is that Dave?
Discography Dave, yes. He first of all, he wrote a novella, but yes, he took it to us.
I fucking love that guy.
I love that he was already prepared to do battle, not knowing what anyone's opinion was.
He knows how to do it.
Definitely. He's a broadcasting pro for sure. Yeah, he had our number. I really was tickled by that Ween tweet, by the way, from one of our listeners.
That was really good.
Yes, they really got Ween's number on that one, too. And, of course, Jen Tully coming on at the beginning. We don't have a lot of female voices, but she came in and slung some muck, and it was great.
Yeah, the old rock climber dating profile thing. That's one thing I looked out for when I was dating. Is like, if you have I'm a rock climber in your profile, no thanks.
Next up, we have more misdirection, more broadcasting magic, where you think we're going to zig and then we zag, baby. We fake left, we go right. The Mighty Ducks understood it, and so do we. Here's more tweets where we don't show our hand right away.
All right, if you guys have me labeled as some kind of Molson drinking, hockey playing, maple tree farming, Joni Mitchell loving, Neil Young rocking in the free world motherfucker, you're mostly right. So let's knock each other's teeth out and sing some Crash Test Dummies classics and all become Canadian.
On the surface, it appears that A Girl Called Dusty is just a compilation of hit songs first recorded by other artists literally the year before this album came out. And actually, that's just what it is.
Music made by pretentious assholes for pretentious assholes. The latter of which, if they could just let their guard down for an hour, would find that this album is actually kind of fun.
One thing is clear. Tito Puente can write a great song. And by that, I mean he essentially wrote one song, gave it 12 different titles, and tried to pass it off as an album.
Damn, I forgot about Tito Puente.
It's so funny coming back to these and like hearing them out of context. They come across as so much funnier.
Yeah. And then I also be like, I would never listen to that album. You're like, no, I actually fucking love that. That was a really good album.
Right, again, we walk these back over the course of our hour and change show.
Adam, what was the pretentious assholes, by pretentious assholes, for pretentious assholes?
Was that Ween?
That was Ween.
That was Ween. Yeah.
Speaking of stagecraft, every once in a while we like to dabble in the world of impressions. And listen, to be honest, there were actually only 2 examples, but I could find. But there's just something about hearing us do funny, silly voices that really cracks me up. So let's roll the impressions segment, guys.
Oh, yeah. You know, me and Gene, this album is full, of little plays on words that sound a lot more impressive when they're being screamed by a cartoon villain. How about this gem? It's all relative to the size of your steeple. Get it, Mean Gene? It's a reference to penis size, but instead it's hidden in a metaphor of a church steeple. Pretty deep. That's right. Me and the world want you to shut up and never make another sound again. Oh, yeah.
Beach Boys, more like beach noise. America's most subversive rock and roll outfit returns with another album full of sharp edges and hot social takes, proving once again that California is nothing but a breeding ground for commie subversion. Parents, be warned! This music will turn your darling kids into dead-eyed hippie reefer addicts. Not for the faint of heart.
All right, that's the end of the impression era.
Tom, that was fantastic.
I mean, Adam,
Listen.
come on. Ultimate Warrior is the one. That's the one. That's the whole reason why I put that section together.
Wait, that's Macho Man, right?
Oh, Macho Man.
How dare you?
Exactly.
And it's tough, too, because, Rob, you're right. You got to commit. Because there's no way, like, you get halfway through what you wrote in a silly voice, and you're like, oh, this isn't landing, but I got to finish it out. So you just keep
It's like Kid Rock making an album.
Yeah, or a career. Okay.
Right.
Based on where we are in the year, I assume most of you are listening to this in some kind of post-massive holiday meal food coma, and you can barely think about the leftovers in your fridge. However, day after day, they beckon to you. You scrape and claw and eventually use every part of the buffalo. Similarly, I tried to squeeze everything into a theme, but there were some remnants that I just couldn't let go of. So, I'm calling this the best of the rest. This one even starts off food-themed.
Blander than cottage cheese and whiter than a Slipknot concert.
Bonnie Raitt late 80s her way through a career resurgence with a lot of help from GarageBand's preset for Rock Beat 1.
Boosh. So if you're looking for third wave Americana Appalachia revival excuses to quit your meds and get real this holiday season, Jillian Welch's Time the Revelator might be the problem and the solution you're looking for.
On Jesus Christ Superstar, Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice capture the message and emotion of the greatest story ever told. And while they're at it, manage to piss off a generation of Catholics who think Jesus was just a bit too hot for his own good.
Sexy Jesus. Half the demented ramblings of acid casualty sex offenders, half intricately layered complex musical exploration. The Mollusk is a dark journey into the twisted psyche of Dean and Jean Ween. It is somehow both challenging and charming, and I think it is the perfect encapsulation of the singular project that is Ween. I think that last one was maybe just too nice to Ween, right? Like, I know that was my tweet, and I
ended a little on the upswing.
You did call them sex offenders, though, to be clear.
That covers a lot of ground. Yeah.
But like, I think I implied that it was at least adult victims, right? So that gave them something.
Fair enough. Fair enough. God. So, listen, if you listen regularly, you may know that we have a tendency to wax on a bit. Even in the segment, we ourselves specifically designed for brevity. But really, I love it when we go into full prolixity. These are a set of snarky reviews that took us on a journey, a picture painted with words. Lots and lots of words.
I feel nervous.
Oh, who could it be?
Recipe for napalm death. Take half a cup of snozberries, a sprinkling of twilight dust, 3 sprigs of rainbow sunshine, fold them together with care. Then throw it in the trash, set the entire house on fire, and begin your killing spree.
Picture this. A newborn baby lying atop a sand sculpture of a snowflake. That snowflake is sitting on a house of cards. That house of cards is anchored to the Death Star. What am I describing? The only thing in the universe more vulnerable than Jeff Tweedy's vocals.
This week, I was finally able to identify where the Catholic Church went wrong. The one and only thing that they have done wrong in the entire history of the Catholic Church.
Go on.
If you want me to relate to Jesus, I need a rip and rhythm section, not this dad band with an 80-year-old organist doing. Give me some screaming, some emoting, and some absolutely shredding bass, and maybe, just maybe, I would not be the cranky atheist I am today. Hashtag Team Judas.
This album is the soundtrack for a high security prison break sponsored by Harley Davidson. These manly crusaders will slap you in the face with an open hand like the little bitch you are while they steal your woman, leaving you alone, piss-soaked, and crying.
That's got to be Motorhead, right?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
That was really inspired, Marty. Great work on that one. The piss soak tag at the end was particularly good.
Marty has definitely brought it in 2024. I feel like I need to step up my game in 2025. So thank you, Marty.
Yeah, exactly. This is actually, in a way, this is kind of like a performance review, guys. So.
Yeah, right.
Is this the precursor you telling us that we're all not getting raises this year, Rob?
We're on performance improvement plans as of right now.
Or maybe I get to host one episode. That'll be good.
Fucking line up.
There's no one holding that torch away from me, Marty.
I'm just wondering when I get my severance package.
So now, as a counterpoint to that long-winded madness, here's another round of our shortest and most scathingly brief tweets for you.
When I first put this album on, I thought it sucked. End of tweet.
Native New Yorker culturally appropriates Afro-Cuban music. Why worry about a whole drum kit when you could just play the 2 little ones?
3 wildly talented musicians and Roger Daltrey engaging in rock and roll chaos.
We get it. You tried Molly. It was great.
You know, it's not too late for this band to change their name to Dumpster Fire.
Black American genius gets thoroughly whitewashed and still comes out sounding like solid gold.
My tweet may actually be a world record here for being the shortest tweet. Rob will have to do some research, but my tweet is Oasis.
That's good. Yeah, that is the shortest.
That was Robbie Williams, right?
Robbie Williams, that's right.
Was,
Yeah.
That was very apt.
You know, everyone in the studio has done some singing in their day. And sometimes we like to shoehorn that skill, in quotes, into our tweets.
No, Jesus.
And listen, spoiler alert, it's really just two of us who do that, ever. I looked through everything looking for more. But I still couldn't resist compiling our singing tweets here into this next clip.
Layered, distorted guitars, a booming arena rock rhythm section, and big, singable choruses. Notice how this description could be for almost any rock record ever made in any era? Exactly. I think we're gonna get a lot of emails.
An album directly out of early 70s central casting, Share the Land is at times rockin', at times goofy, often formulaic, but overall entertaining. And in case you weren't sure if I was talking about the album Share the Land or the song Share the Land, I'm talking about the album now.
I just wanna stop listening to this banal trash.
Album has chaotic and purposely lo-fi, fuzzed out and relatively fun, but just comes across as unbearably whiny.
You know, as is often the case in this weekly exercise of ours, I've listened to this so many times that I can't quite recall what my first impressions were, but I remember. This guy cannot sing.
I fucking knew it was only going to be me and you.
Yeah.
I knew it.
That was awesome.
Just can't help it. And guys, to close out the night, and I know it's been a long night, I have a few more tweets that really made me chortle, but did not fit into any of the carefully crafted categories. It's either that or I got lazy and just decided to throw these together at the last minute. Either way, let's enjoy our final round of the best mean tweets of 2024.
If a hangover learned how to play an instrument and then had a jaded ex-punk ramble over their overproduced tracks, unknown pleasures would be the result. If this is what the cool kids are listening to, then I am not on board. I was, in fact, just bored.
An album that's cooler than the North Pole. It's no joke that I fell in love with it this week. And I think that you'll love this album as well, because let's be honest, it slays.
I think it was Woody Guthrie who said, if you're playing more than 2 chords, you're showing off. Well, Herbie Hancock is not showing off on Headbangers.
This album is the indie version of every college girl's Costa Rica study abroad Instagram reel.
So syrupy sweet, I had to stop by the dentist to check for cavities. So maudlin, I had to double check I wasn't watching the Hallmark Channel. And ultimately, so disappointing, I had to make sure I wasn't engaging with Philadelphia sports fanship.
Ooh. That's good. That's good.
I mean, Marty, you're like a Washington Commanders fan.
I'm no fan.
For our audience members, that was a tweet about Eagles Hotel California, but also a reference to the Philadelphia Eagles. So trying to tie those things together.
Go Birds.
Rob, get literary over here.
That's right. Okay, well, that was a fun walk down memory lane. I hope you enjoyed it as well. We will be back next week with another standard episode digging into the backstory of a classic album for you. And we're looking forward to 2025 and all that's to come. And of course, if you dug this episode, we would absolutely love to hear from you in the form of an email to 1001albumcomplaints@gmail.com or in the form of a 5-star review wherever you're listening to the show. Wherever you listen, however you decide to support us, we love you, thank you, and Happy New Year. From everyone at the show, I've been Rob.
I've been Tom.
I'm Adam.
I'm Alan.
I'm Marty.
And I'm Phil.
Boosh.